All right, everybody, so you may be accustomed to seeing a stimulus update from me, and I will be publishing a stimulus update later today, but I saw something just now and had to say something about it. So just this morning, Donald Trump tweeted, with universal mail-in voting, not absentee voting, which is good, 2020 will be the most inaccurate and fraudulent election in history. It will be a great embarrassment to the USA. Delay the election until people can properly, securely, and safely vote, in the form of a question. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, the president has just suggested, albeit in the form of a question, delaying the November election because he believes that universal mail-in voting will lead to voter fraud. This is the first time that the president has suggested this, despite having rejected the notion previously. Folks, for one thing, COVID crisis or not, there's not going to be universal mail-in voting in all precincts this November. That's just not going to happen. And for another, 1 in 4 voters in the 2016 presidential election voted by mail. It's not like this is anything new or that we haven't done this before. Do we need oversight? Yes. Is the potential for fraud there? Sure. But is there any evidence that voting by mail leads to widespread fraud and inaccuracy? Not that I have seen. It is currently federal law that Election Day occur on the Tuesday after the first Monday in November. Changing the date to something else would require a change in federal law. That is, it would require an act of Congress. And obviously, with a split Congress, Democrat-controlled House, and Republican-controlled Senate, this idea would go nowhere. Not to mention that I seriously doubt that very many Republicans would support the president on this, and in fact, I doubt that any Democrats would as well. Also, let me just point something out. We held a presidential election on November 8th, 1864, when the country was torn apart by civil war. We held a presidential election on November 7th, 1944, in the midst of the deadliest conflict in human history, World War II. And if coronavirus, as Trump said, will eventually just disappear, I think we can have a presidential election on November 3rd, 2020 as well. Now, on the topic of elections, I didn't really talk about this aspect of the Democrats' HEROES Act before because it wasn't germane to stimulus checks and all that, but there is a provision in the HEROES Act that would supersede many states' laws regarding identification requirements when voting. Currently, many states have laws saying you have to show an ID or a utility bill or something like this at the poll to verify your identity, as well as to obtain a mail-in ballot. California, where I live, does not have any voter ID requirements or voter documentation requirements. You don't need to provide any document to vote. But some states have these laws, and the HEROES Act proposed to supersede all of those state laws by simply allowing a sworn statement that you are the voter to serve as your identification. So it would make it the law of the land, the law of the United States, that the only document you need to vote is your sworn statement that you are in fact the individual on the ballot. I didn't cover this aspect of the HEROES Act previously, but I thought I would cover it here. But let me know what you think below about this whole issue. Do you think that as a result of the coronavirus crisis and increased mail-in voting this year, that the 2020 presidential election should be postponed? Also, what do you think about the HEROES Act's proposal to completely eliminate voter ID requirements nationwide? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the stimulus update.